Hi everyone, Rocco here. I just wanted to bring to you all a MagSorc pet build that's specifically geared to players who are just getting into ESO PVP, who want to go into Kyne, go into some Battlegrounds, and not get absolutely rickrolled right off the bat. This set's pretty easy to put together. Everything's easily attainable, low research requirements if you're going to craft it yourself. If not, it'll be no problem finding someone who can do it for you. So, without further ado, let's just look at the gear. Well, before we get to that, let me just get to the race. I went with Brenton. I went with Brenton because I actually haven't messed around with Brenton before. But it's one of those races that gives good bonuses to anything Magicka based. And I also like the Alliance points as well. Light armor, that's again kind of a mag based skill. So yeah, let's go over to the gear. Everything is impenetrable. That's very important for PvP, especially in the sub 50 bracket, at least before you get to CP PvP. You can see here I'm using fortified brass. Fortified brass is one of those great go-to sets. It's just so tanky. Basically, because it's crafted, you can make it in light, and you can throw in whatever pieces you need, and your survivability just went up like threefold. Good health, good resistances. I went with a heavy on the chest here, and 5 light around the body, and then a medium on the hands. I went with a heavy and a medium because this player, or this character rather, just does Battlegrounds. I want to level up my armor skills as I'm developing this character, and I just don't want to grind out a bunch of mobs or quests or whatnot once I'm done here with the 50 bracket, sub 50. So let's look at the other set. It's Torg's Pact. Torg's Pact's great. It's gonna go exceptionally well with the ultimate changes to Sorcerer. I'll get into that in just a few minutes, but you can look here, it's got some spell damage, some health, some resistances, and that 5-item effect is deadly. It allows you essentially to sit back, keep putting pressure on your opponent without burning through resources, and it encourages you to weave your light attacks, which that is important on any class, but with this one in particular, this build, your weaving of your light attacks will do considerably, like a nice bit of damage, because that 30% increase to potency and cooldown, decreasement and cooldown is just so nice and helpful. When we get to the weapons, we'll see what that is. So there's a Ring of Torg's Pact here. You need Somerset to craft it yourself. If you don't have that, it's pretty easy to find someone who can do this. It's a really low trait, I believe three traits needed. And fortified brass is 4. So you won't really have a problem getting your hands on this. It only requires a few copper pieces, and honestly, you don't even have to put the arcane on it. It's a great set, and you can see I just leave mine white. It works fine. You level very fast in this bracket now. They patched the XP, so per game, if you win, you get a nice chunk, maybe like a third of a level. It's good, it's fun. So these last 2 pieces, I had 2 extra spots. I just grabbed some Wizard's Riposte and threw it in there. You can see I'm level 39, this is level 18. Not the best. This is level 30. I should upgrade these. You can also just get a crafted set if you find something that has got a good two set bonus, and that will work just fine. I just kind of grabbed this from the mail. You know, you don't have to go ham on these sets, because again, you're gonna level up pretty quick. Look at the weapons. Ice Staff, Torg's Pact. We'll get into that once we get to the skills. But you can see it's infused with shock damage. I went with shock because sorcerers get a nice little bonus to shock damage. I was running Oblivion before this character got to the point where it had those passives. You can do that if you like another status effect. Let's say it's disease for the healing reduction. That's cool too. I just wanted the upfront damage. On the back bar here, we've got a restoration staff, and I've got a weapon and spell damage enchantment, and you can see that's 557. That's pretty big. When you're switching between your bars and you're weaving these attacks in, just one hit off your light attack on your back bar will give you a lot of spell damage, which is great. So that's gear. I want to get over to the skills. I'll go away, guild. Let's see here. Alright, so this is a pet build. We've got 2 pets on our bar, and they have to stay on both bars, as you probably figured out. I went with the Summon Volatile Familiar because the AoE shock damage is pretty dang good. Paired with Daedric Prey, it's even nastier. I've seen a lot of people run the damage Matriarch and the healing Familiar. I just can't get into that style. I find the Volatile Familiar is both a little bit more helpful when you get big piles of people. The stun is great, and because I'm not running any other stun. And then, yes, I just prefer it. You can try it out, see what you like. So here we've got our bread and butter, MagSorc, Execute, Endless Fury. You definitely want this on your front bar, your offensive bar, or mixing it up. You can play around with it. I have Crystal Frags on here. So Crystal Frags, I've been switching it in and out because leveling this character through CP, I haven't really been running any dark magic on my front bar, so it's gotten just really no experience, pretty low. You can see others, Storm Calling 40, Daedric Summoning 47. What I've been doing, why that is so low, is because I've been using this skill, and that's Frost Reach. Essentially, this gives you a soft CC, and with your stun, it's a hard CC. What you want to do is rotate the cooldown timers. So you want to get someone maybe with your snare first, or your immobilize. Then once they roll dodge or break out of that, your stun's going to hit next, and they're going to have to deal with that. So once they deal with that, break out of it, hopefully the timer on your soft CC will be over with, and you can drop this on them, and then they're just constantly dealing with you, trying to prevent them from casting, from fighting, from dumping their resources on you. The Matriarch here, it's great. We kind of talk about it a little bit. I find this heal just way more utility. It just gets more people. And, you know, if your friends die, pretty good chance that you're going to die. Greater Storm Atronach. This is a killer ultimate for a pet build. Obviously, with Daedric Prey, you get that 40% extra damage. That trucks. And there's a reason why it's 40 and not 55, because you will be dishing out a bunch of damage anyways. I'll show you a little bit how you can use this ultimate as both offensive and defensive at the same time. It's really useful, and it's one of the core mechanics of, I think, playing a pet sorc effectively. Let's go over the back bar here. So we've got our pets again. We talked about those. Boundless Storm, you know what that is. That's your hit points, or not hit points, excuse me, your major resolve, major ward. And you get a nice little movement speed. You want to keep that up at all times, along with this Power Surge. That's the other buff that I'm running. I didn't really. I did a few BGs without it, but I prefer to wait until I've got my skills at least somewhat set up. It just kind of seems silly running without a major sorcery on a mag character. So this right here, Hardened Ward, let's talk about this. I've been running this in and out just because it's kind of useful, kind of not. But it's going to get a cast time on it. And if you've seen any of that on the test server, it definitely makes you change your playstyle a little bit. I've been using Steadfast Ward, which works just fine. That is not going to get a cast time increase. And I've been, I don't even have the morph, and it works just fine. The last thing here is we've got our power overload. So with the changes coming up, this you will no longer be getting another bar when you switch to overload. Instead, overload is just going to be added to your light attacks. So that's great news, honestly, because check it out. Remember Torag's Pact? you're already going to be light attacking a bunch, and not only that, but your light attacks are going to be dropping some pretty nasty enchantment procs. So that ultimate paired with that set is going to make that phase, once you go into that damage phase, that ultimate, you're going to be shredding people. Yeah, from what I've seen on it, I think the change is going to be good. I mean, some people have bemoaned losing that extra bar, but I think it's going to be fine. Just one quick thing. I am running on the food. I highly recommend a Tristat. You know, I just bought this off a guild vendor. Tristat, because you want stamina. Some people can run Witch Mothers and get by just fine. That's not me. I'd just like to have that nice extra pool of stamina where I can block, where I can roll dodge, where I can get out of CC, because you're always going to be dealing with CC. It's PvP. So, that's basically just kind of the gear, the build, the setup. Just checking my notes here. I think that's all I want to talk about on that. Let's just run over some tactics just real quick. So obviously, when you're playing, you keep your buffs up. That's just granted. But the key thing to getting a combo down, and there's a nice little combo that you can do, is sending your pet first, making sure that your imp is always working for you. That AoE, when it's going off, it won't stun until the last one, until that 8 seconds is all up. When that stun drops, what you want to do is hopefully have that Daedric Prey going off right after the stun, because that nice burst in damage while they are hopefully getting into execute range, and they're going to be stunned, that means they're going to have a hard time healing out of it. They're going to have to break out of that stun, break out of that CC before they can recover. So, we talked a little bit about the soft CC, the hard CC. Try and rotate that right. This thing's going to die really fast, this beetle, but I'll try and give you a little idea of how you can, the basic combo. I'm not going to be throwing in any light attacks or anything, just this is going to tear through this beetle, but you can see, oops, I don't want to put that there. It's going to tear through it really fast. Boom, see that stun went off, and then right after the stun, you had your curse go off. If that was a player, they would have had to deal with that before they could do anything else. So that's the basic combo. Of course, you want to be weaving in your light attacks. It's great to start your light attack on your back bar so you get that nice weapon damage. Either way, weave it in and out. I'm not going full speed on this, not doing the light attacks because these mobs are just going to, again, melt. So, really quick, I want to show you. We'll go over here. Two of these guys. I just want to show you how to use the Atronach both offensively and defensively. One of the key things and one of the key advantages about having a pet sword, about playing one effectively, is that your pets act as decoys. It makes targeting you, hitting you, a real pain. And when you throw an extra one into the mix, it gets even worse. So I'll just drop this down, and you see what I do is I'm going to be keeping the mobs between, keeping the Atronach between me and the mobs. And just imagine these are players. Obviously they won't act and react accordingly, but just to give you an idea. So, coming at me, and I would be essentially just circling around it like this. And so just tearing through these guys. But this right here, you can see your imps right there, you can see the Atronachers right there. They're going to have a really hard time getting at you. If he was trying to get at me, you can just run through your Atronach. It's just a pain. I went with a Morpheer that gives you the extra hit points. It's the one I prefer just because, yeah, it works great. People will try and destroy these if they're weak, because for 27 seconds that's dealing out a lot of damage. So yeah, that's basically it. I'm going to include some gameplay footage just of a battleground with this build, just to give you a little bit better idea of how it works in practice. hopefully it's not entirely garbage. But yeah, just keep an eye on how that combo is working, because that combo is kind of the core of burst for this specific build. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this. I hope you guys enjoy getting into PvP. It's my favorite thing about this game. I'm a huge PvP nerd. It's really all I do. So anyhow, enjoy.